All right. Welcome everyone to the Getting Started with Port webinar. My name is Aidan O'Connor. I'm a Senior Solution Engineer at Port. So we have about 20 minutes worth of content today. Talk a little bit about me, an overview of Port, do a quick demo in our public demo environment, and then talk about a few steps of where you should begin with your portal. Save some time for Q&A at the end. Throughout, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A function or just chat directly. So my name is Aidan. Used to be a consultant for about 5 years, turned SE. Security background. I used to work for Sneak. Into data science, and then some hobbies include running, lifting, cooking, and carpentry. I'm building a workbench in my basement right now. So uh, IDPs, the core of platform engineering. So who does this serve? What does Port do? So I'm going to bring up my presenter view on the side here. So it's an internal developer portal, integrates with your underlying platform, everything on the right. So cloud providers, monitoring tools, source code management, CI pipelines, etc. And it centralizes everything into the IDP, into Port to serve the people on the left. So developers, development managers, vice presidents of engineering, DevOps, CISO, and then others not listed here. So DevSecOps, security teams, product teams, to all be on the same page with all these tools, and it fits and molds to your engineering organization's needs. So obviously, a VP of engineering is not going to need to see everything that the developer sees day to day. Same thing for everyone else. So really want to cater to all personalities here, all personas here within an IDP. So there's some efficiency benefits, obviously. If you want to get context about a service that you work on or a service that maybe you're the VP of engineering for with many other services, you could go log into any one of these on the right side, but you're going to have to do a lot of context switching. So looking at AWS, finding cloud resources, okay, that's one thing. Keeping that in mind, going to Jira, and then GitHub, Bitbucket, Datadog. It's a lot of context switching that you'll have to do instead of having it all in one place in an IDP. So that's IDPs, the core of platform engineering. And then Port has several customization pillars that you can use to implement your own IDP. So the first one being software catalog, a single source of record. We see a lot of people who come to us who use, even just for microservices, like a spreadsheet that's passed around every week or so with what your service is, the last time it was deployed, who owns it, who's a subject matter expert for it. So having that all in a single place, and not just your services, not just the source code, not just your repositories, but also cloud resources, costs for those cloud resources, um, the tickets, the issues, the bugs, everything brought into one and correlated together. Scorecards to enforce standards. So we also talk to a lot of people that perhaps hire like a consulting firm to come in annually, do a production readiness review of all their services. It's a lot of questions, a lot of back and forth, and then there will be maybe a couple months later they'll take a look at the results and see how well they're performing against these standards that have been decided on. But we found a better way to do it. So objective metrics that are automatically updated saves you kind of that manual effort of looking at your standards, and then enforces it in scorecards. Self-service, so developer autonomy. If there are things that are heavily ticket driven right now, so if you want to scaffold a new service, if you want to get emergency access to a cluster or a cloud resource, right now, if you find yourself in a situation where a developer who needs to do that has to go create a ticket or a series of interdependent tickets that have to go to the right person, but more likely maybe a large inbox or a board for these tickets, and they have to wait. There's a long waiting period. I think self-service would be good for you. So I'll show some examples of that today. Dashboards for your VPs, even for developers to take a look at how the organization, how a particular service is performing. Automation is something we recently introduced. So if self-service requires human intervention to go and engage some automation in the background, so creating a new service, registering it, adding the right owners, giving it a developer environment. Automations are going to be used when there's no human required in the loop. So the example we're pointing out here is if you have a developer environment that eats up your cloud resources, the best practices we're seeing is you should set a time to live on it, for example, and then don't make somebody go and force this time to live. Have an automation that automatically shuts it down. So that's one option with automations. But other ways we're seeing this implemented are um, uh, PagerDuty incidents, for example. If an incident is detected in PagerDuty, we can, based on our knowledge of the top left item here, a software catalog, we can go trigger the creation of a Slack channel with new incident name. We can bring in all the right people. So it's not just creating a Slack channel and then you have to go find, well, who actually owns this service or who's the last person to deploy. If you have this already reflected in a software catalog, we can help get to, all right, what do we need to do to fix this rather than who owns this service. And then finally, it's all got the underlying RBAC. So personalized experience. I am a developer. I log in. I see my things. I am able to do certain actions, self-service actions with my things. I see things that I own, but I also see things that I shouldn't. I don't see things that I shouldn't own. So if you have a massive global organization, setting viewer or the ability to update RBAC controls is a powerful thing here to use RBAC for. So I'll get into a quick live demo. I'm gonna hit the four pillars of port, being software catalog, scorecards, automations, and self-service actions. Of course, again, if you have any questions throughout, let me know. But let's get started here. So I talked about personalized experience based on RBAC. Port is able to find out who that logged in user is. Obviously, we have that information, and then if the services that they own are owned as a port meta property, you're able to depict that here. So my services, I see the things that I work on day to day. I can also see my scorecard. So again, taking those objective metrics that maybe in your organization right now, somebody at a very high level is paying attention to, and then keeping that pretty siloed. We want to make developers also see this, right? So you should see that your service is doing well or not with these scorecard rules. So I'll get more into that in a little bit. Announcements. This may even be better put in the top left corner. If there's something that you want everyone to see. Look, hey, we need to move away from a certain Lambda runtime, for example, because AWS said it's going to expire. You might want to put that in announcements. My entities recently used actions, PRs waiting for my approval, my open PRs. This is the kind of thing you can have in a homepage for an IDP. So we'll get into software catalog that all is based on. So start with a service catalog, customized properties available so you can slice and dice this as you need. So um, two use cases to depict here. So if you're someone who is part of maybe also a large global organization and you've been asked to do something. So we need a service that will um, authenticate somebody with another service, right? Uh, you could go and build this on your own. That is a lot of duplicate work. And if you do build something that is duplicate work, when you want to update that in the future, new business requirements come out, that's now two services you have to update that do the same thing. So the global search is a very powerful aspect of this. So I'm going to give myself a really easy one here. So checkout service, right? So I can go to any one of these and I can eventually find which service this relates to, right? So I see it's a PagerDuty incident, fine. It's related to users, teams, domains, organizations. I can find this checkout service that I'm looking for, but I'll do a deep dive on that right now. So again, having a software catalog that brings all of this information into one, all these tools you've invested in, so your source code management, your collaboration platform, monitoring platform, observability, all into one. So I'm able to see this is the checkout service, but that source code management integration is not going to tell you enough, right? I've got source code, sure, but is this running somewhere? Yes, it's running in staging, development, and production. Are there open pull requests that maybe I can go take a look at? Deployments, issues, incidents, this kind of thing to aggregate all of this data from all of your third-party platforms into one place so that if I'm a developer and I found out, hey, I should be looking for this checkout service, I'm able to see a lot more about it than I would get just by maybe searching GitHub, for example. Um, so software catalog is one pillar. Now, scorecards is the next pillar I want to talk about. Let's say I'm the owner, maybe the last committer, maybe the person on call for the checkout service, and I want to see how my application is performing, my service. So I can go to any one of these, and these are all customizable. So DORA metrics, for example, um, we have these, again, objective, automatically updated metrics. I see that, for a couple reasons, I don't deploy frequently enough to be in the gold tier, and my PRs are a little bit heavy. I should lighten them up. So actionable ways for developers to become to have better services, right? Engineering benchmarks, we put this in to show kind of industry-wide things that we're seeing, pretty simple things that developers can implement. Docs maturity, production readiness, ownership is a good easy one to be compliant with here. But the idea here is you set these standards and then enforce them. And we're looking at a single service right now, but pulling back to the more likely person who's going to be looking at this day to day is the SVP of engineering. So we have a scorecard overview that we can show here. So right now, this public demo site is kind of meant to show maybe a smaller engineering team or organization with a few teams, but you can do this with domains, divisions, organizations if you have very large development teams. This is just one example of it. But looking at scorecards by team, I can see a team level roll up. So past scorecard rules, I see the automation aces are doing the best here. And where are they doing the best, right? What can we learn from the automation aces to improve the other teams here, right? And then we can do a deep dive. So firewall, um, doing pretty well for some services, and then others, we really need to go find out what's going on here. So it's pretty basic across the board. And again, SVP of engineering passes this to the team leader, says this service needs a little bit more help. Here's the reasons why. This kind of way to go improve these things. However, this can be a lot to take in, right? This is a lot of scorecards, and all of these scorecards have a lot of rules. So what we do a step further is initiatives. So if across the board we're seeing that service health, for example, is pretty basic across the board, we can improve that by setting up initiatives. So I'm going to take one example. The idea here is you take one scorecard and even maybe one or two rules from that scorecard, and you create an initiative dashboard that shows where are we doing well, where are we not doing well, and how can we improve. So here's the general concept of what we're trying to improve with this initiative. We just need SonarQube project for every service, right? So then we see this previous dashboard uh, sliced down into just this rule. So we see, again, automation ace is doing pretty well. Services without teams not doing so well. Visual storytellers we can maybe pick on that they need to go and implement SonarQube projects for the rest of their services. So to make this happen, we can offer a self-service action that says, just pick which project you want, order service. You can even scope this down to say only services that don't currently have SonarQube projects aligned. You can add some tags. You can execute this, and in the back end, it's going to go run some automation to add that SonarQube or add tags to a SonarQube project. So we've gone from catalog to scorecards to initiatives to improve the root causes of these scorecard issues, and then we'll get even deeper into self-service. So again, if there's some process within your organization that has a lot of tickets involved, so scaffolding a new service, I need a new ticket for the repository because I'm not really trusted enough to go set up the repository the right way with branch protection enabled. allow squash merge, this can all be abstracted away, right? And then on top of that, creating a new cloud resource. Am I really trusted to go and add new cloud resources using Terraform templates? There might be a lot of variables. So what we want to do is abstract that away into a very easy self-service action. So we're going to call this the testing service, select team ownership from the beginning so that there's no question of who owns the service, no orphan services out there. We can pick a domain. Languages, you can enforce the approved set of languages. So maybe you want to start getting rid of the use of PHP, for example. We can remove that as an option. And then you can go a step further. If someone selects Go, for example, you could add on top of that the Go SDK that they should be using or the version. You could select tier and type, execute it, and then the developer is given more insight into what's going on. So where the experience might currently be, you create a ticket, you're not really sure what's going on. Maybe the person who approves it is on vacation. Maybe it goes to kind of a general approval inbox that no one pays much attention to. This gives you a lot more insight, gives automation that the DevOps team has already set guardrails on. The repository configuration is already thought of. All you have to do is give a name. You're given the right pipeline template. So that's another call saved, another ticket saved, where it's automatically added. You're able to go and just use that repository and that new service. So that's self-service. I'll briefly scroll through the rest of these. These are all examples. Anything that you can define in logic, you can add as a self-service action. So create, update, which would be day two operations, and then delete operations, right? But with the delete operations, there might be something that maybe you don't need a human in the loop for. So the example I gave was um, having ephemeral environments. They should automatically be shut down when they meet that time to live. So if we go into automations here, we're able to see a few examples of this. But again, as long as it's a change in your software catalog that we can detect, we can run automation on it. So if you created a self-service action where a developer is able to go and create a new developer environment, they must enter a time to live. So when that time to live is maybe an hour away, a couple days away, whatever you'd like to pick, the developer can be notified in a Slack or a Teams message that, hey, this environment that you requested that you've been using is about to expire. Maybe you want to extend it. So you can do that. But when when the environment meets that TTL and it's not been asked to be extended anymore, automatically deleting that. So that's the fourth and final pillar of port. So again, software catalog to know everything you have out there and correlate it together. Scorecards to observe standard automatically updated objective metrics to see software quality. Self-service to limit how many tickets developers have to create to do what they need to do. And then finally, automations to take the human out of the loop for things that should, such as shutting down an ephemeral environment, creating a new PagerDuty, creating a new Slack channel based on a PagerDuty incident, et cetera. So getting back into the slides here, where should I begin? So what we recommend is a perfect use case that's driven by something that is high value. So something that developers or DevOps teams spend entirely too much time on, something that's easy to implement. So scaffolding a new service, for example, could be very easy to implement. Something that's high demand. So kind of blends well with high demand and high value, but picking something that meets all three of these and introducing it to developers in your product, right? You should treat your IDP, your portal as a product and constantly add new features. So picking something that has these three criteria is the best way that we've seen people start with it. Now, that is the end of the presentation. I can answer any questions that came up. I'm not seeing any in the chat, so I don't know if there's any in the Q&A.
No questions so far. Let's wait another minute or two, and if not, we'll conclude the session.
Okay.
I think we can conclude. Thank you, Aiden.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for attending.